Thanks for tuning in to another tips and tricks tutorial video brought to you by Freelancer School. My name is Taylor Keene, and today we're going to talk about how to make an API call with Zapier and push that to something like a CRM, for instance, HubSpot, um, and how you can use base64 encoding right within your own terminal to encrypt the API key properly and get that all set up pretty fast. So right here, what you're looking at is going to be the trigger. Now, the first trigger we're going to use is a schedule by Zapier, and then you can set how frequently you want to make the API call. So if you go in here, you can choose different things as far as the different trigger event options. I'm choosing every day. Then you click continue. Same thing, 4:30 p.m. right here, and you can just have different options within the trigger events. It's going to pull in the event, which is just going to be exactly the time right now. We'll continue, and then you would just test this, and it would give you a green check mark right here, and it'll take you to the next step. So your second action is going to be webhooks by Zapier, and then your action event is going to be a GET request, or at least that's what I'm asking for, to get what I'm asking for, which is going to be inventory from a different tech stack with a different API basically than where my CRM is. So you go get, and then you can go to the configure settings. Now what you're going to want to do is whatever whatever you're making your API call in the developer docs, there's going to be a certain thing you're asking it for. So here I'm asking it for the serialized unit inventory. Now, this company gave me an API key, but then in their developer docs, it says to base64 encode that API key to access what you're asking for. So not in Zapier, you can go to your terminal on Mac or Windows, I believe. And then what you can do is type in echo space dash lowercase n, and then insert your API key right here. This is just a fake API key I made. So you would insert the API key that either you create or whatever company gives you an API key, and insert it there with the dash right here, and then base64, and that's going to give you the base64 encoded API key. So what you're going to want to do then is take this encoded API key and copy it, and then you're going to paste it under headers right here. So you can paste that in, and then it's going to be type in authorization if that's what they're requesting. And then if you don't know what you're doing, just start off with that and see what the API pulls. Now, if it's a ridiculous amount of data, it's going to let you test it at least before you do that. So if you went through this process and then you got to the testing screen, and it was a successful call, it's going to have your data like this, so you can see everything you would need to know about. Again, this is a unit, this isn't like contact information, but the same thing could be used depending on whatever object you're trying to grab from the API. So that is how you would at least encrypt the API key, and then use that within webhooks within Zapier. And once you got to this screen, whatever your trigger is, wherever, it doesn't have to be HubSpot, it could be anything, any trigger. Then you could go in and, like right here, I'm going to make a product, and I'll show you my configuration. So I'm just mapping those test items you just saw to the properties within HubSpot, because I'm searching for a product. So I want to first search by VIN. And then my secondary search is going to be stock number, and I'm mapping those fields with that data pulled in by that webhook. If you keep scrolling down here, there's going to be different options within Zapier. So if I wanted to pull more properties about the product, I could potentially use in a different action down further below. Create a HubSpot product if it doesn't exist, so I have that to keep my inventory updated. And you can just see how I'm basically mapping the fields that matter to me and that I would need mapped for that API call basically, and yeah, go from there. But overall, if you are just copying and pasting your API key uh, into different parts of the webhook, it's just not going to work. So go read the developer documentation of your tech stacks to find out what you might need to authorize that API connection. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Um, I'll drop my Calendly link below if you ever need consulting help or anything like that. Feel free to book on mine or Chris's calendar at any point. We appreciate you supporting our channel if you made it this far, and have a wonderful rest of your day, week, month, wherever you're at in the world.